I don't think I've actually been nervous to make a video in I don't know how long. Goodness gracious of baby Jesus. How are you all doing? This is gonna be a completely different style of video than I'm normally used to doing. So if you all know me at all, I need to probably go ahead and reintroduce myself for the people that are coming back to the channel and new people coming to the channel. I am Movies in Depth. I normally do commentary videos where you see me in a floating bubble running around the screen at a very fast pace and just talk about nonsense, make jokes off the cuff, that sort of thing. But I wanted to change it up a little bit for today. Today, if you haven't gathered already by the title, we're gonna be talking about HeartStopper Season 1. This has been by far and away the most requested video for me to do in my entire career of the channel. I don't know where it started, if it was on Netflix, if it was on Twitter, and I decided to go ahead and sit down and watch the entire first season. But the way that we're gonna be doing it today is a little bit different. Instead of my normal little bubble flowing around the screen, chasing around after comments and that sort of stuff, I went ahead and watched the whole first season. But that's not what this video is. This video is me discussing the plot of Season 1 through my eyes, if that makes sense. I'm gonna walk you through the plot while also telling you all the crazy screams and moments that were happening inside of my brain as I was watching it. Am I making any sense at all? Anyway, I have some thoughts. I have a lot of thoughts. So, buckle in, grab a coffee. I have a coffee. Will I drip it? No, I won't. I have a coffee. If you don't have a coffee, if you don't have a drink, if you don't have anything, sit down, grab your snacks. This is gonna be one hell of a ride, and I cannot wait to talk to you all about this wonderful, beautiful show. I think before we even get started, I should just go ahead and read out the tagline for the show. HeartStopper. Teens Charlie and Nick discover their unlikely friendship might be something more as they navigate school and young love in this coming of age series. Boy, yes. This show rocked me to my core, but I'm gonna say my full unhinged thoughts for the end of this, so let's just start breaking it down episode by episode. So in episode 1, Meet, we are introduced to two of the main characters of the show. We have Charlie and we have Nick. However, we don't meet Nick right away. We start out with Charlie being in a relationship with the character Ben. And Ben, oh, Benny boy, is, for lack of a better words, a dick. I don't want to be mean to Ben because Ben has a lot of issues that he's working himself through. And I think we might eventually get some character progression for him later on. But to kick off the show and throughout the remainder of Season 1, he's a dick. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me right away as I was watching through the show, I just found it kind of funny. I don't know if it was just me, but is that Charlie's home screen literally says gay panic. I don't know why, but that made me cackle like a little schoolgirl. It just was so charismatic, and it really struck out to who Charlie's character is, and you find out as the rest of the show goes on. So as we go along in the show, we figure out that Charlie is very interested in this new kid on the scene, our homie boy Nick. And Nick is a rugby boy. And I don't just mean a rugby boy, I mean a rugby boy. Another thing that was really fascinating me as I was watching along this show is that the animations that are popping up constantly, you can see them on the poster for the show, you can see them as the episodes go on, you can see them as big character movements happen. They're so cute and so charismatic. There was just so much care put into every little aspect of this show, and I just thought that was so adorable. As we go along in the first episode, we just keep having meetups between Charlie and Nick. They keep bumping into each other. They haven't actually gotten to know each other yet, and you know something's about to happen. But then we're introduced to the next major character of this show, Elle. And I had to figure this out later on, but I was correct. Elle is a transsexual who is transferred from the all-male school that Charlie and Nick are at over to an all-girls school. The real-life actress is also a transsexual, which is very fascinating, and it was such a really interesting concept that we have these two schools where we're having homosexual relationships in an all-boys school and an all-girls school, and then we also have a transsexual going to an all-girls school. So many different elements and so many different things happening all at once, and I just loved it. But as the episode keeps on progressing, the big major plot point that kind of stuck out was the fact that Ben is actually cheating on Charlie. If I don't think I've mentioned it up until this point, they're in a secret relationship. Charlie catches him in the act, and Ben's acting as if like nothing ever happened. Charlie ends up texting Ben saying that I'm gonna break up with you and we're done. After Charlie ends up breaking up with Ben, there is just so much chemistry between him and Nick, and he starts to become, for lack of a better words, infatuated with Nick, to the point that he ends up trying to join the rugby team so that he can be closer to Nick. Another thing that I found that was kind of fascinating is that they kind of go away from a lot of the stereotypes in this show. So when Charlie joins the team, you would assume they would do some sort of plot line of like, they're gonna bully him because they figure out that he's gay. I think I forgot to mention this too. The entire school knows that Charlie's gay. So when he joins the team already knows. So that plot line is just kind of thrown away, but it doesn't stop them from bullying him because we have a bunch of lovely characters on that team that we will meet later on as the show goes on, especially with a little turd muffin named Harry. And oh, I've got some things to say about Harry, but we're gonna save that till later. But as the episode comes to an end, Ben wants to talk to Charlie because Ben has nothing better to do than torment Charlie, and then eventually forces himself on Charlie. And I've never wanted to punch a character more in a television show than that moment, but luckily our homeboy Nick comes to save the day, and it is very chivalrous and it's very amazing, and I almost lost it, and that's the end of episode 1. So then we move on to episode 2, which is Crush, and this is really the starter phase for Charlie realizing his true feelings for Nick. Nick is starting to hang out with Charlie more and more as they go along, and it's just so sweet. I literally wrote in my notes, they are so sweet. These two are angels, and I want nothing bad to ever happen to them. I'm so sorry for what's about to happen in the rest of the season, but I love them to death. But as the episode progresses, Charlie's friends start to take notice that he's becoming interested in Nick, and they keep on telling him that Nick is actually straight, that there's actually a girl at a different school that Nick has a crush on. It just becomes more and more tough for Charlie because Charlie is really a pushover when it comes to the end of the day. He's not very good at sticking up for himself and explaining how he feels. But over at the all-girls side, Elle is also struggling over there because she is a new transfer student, has no friends, has no group, doesn't know where she belongs, and really is just feeling alone. She ends up meeting two girls, Darcy and Tara, and they actually come up to her trying to get to know her, trying to see if she wants to talk to them. But Elle constantly thinks that it's some sort of handout, that maybe the teachers are trying to get other students to actually talk to her. But at the end of the day, they all do become friends, and it is such a cute little friend group, and I love it for the rest of the season. But then to even further drama up this plot, we have Nick, who actually invites Charlie over to his house. I don't even know what I would call it. They're hanging out, and it's in the snow, and it's adorable. It's another one of those things that I wrote, so cute in snow. Just have this giant montage of Charlie and Nick outside in the snow with Nick's dog, and it's just the most cute, wholesome pieces of television that I've watched in so long. And you can just kind of start seeing the little seeds setting inside of Nick. It's like, oh, there's a little glance there. Are we both... Are we thinking about the same thing now? Really? Us? Oh my God, I could not stop thinking about those two, and they're just so cute in that scene. Charlie goes back to his friends to tell them that he thinks that Nick might not actually be straight, but then Elle kind of brings the hammer down and says that she does think that Nick is straight, and Elle is hanging out with two girls, and one of which was actually a past flame of Nick. It just becomes this giant gooble of things working against this relationship actually happening. But then Charlie has the nerves to ask Nick to come over and hang out at his house, and Nick says yes. And I'm not gonna lie, you know the show's called HeartStopper. Well, my heart literally stopped when that happened. But as the episode is ending up, we just had to add a little bit more spice on top of everything else. We figure out that Tara and Darcy are actually dating, which is so adorable and so cute. But then once Nick actually comes over to their house, and I wrote this out because I thought it was kind of funny, Charlie knows how to play the drums, right? So he's trying to teach Nick how to play the drums. Well, instead of like standing over top of him, holding his arms, whatever, they decide to both sit on a drum pedal that's barely big enough to hold one ass, let alone two collective ass cheeks. I just thought that was so funny as I was watching it. But at the end of the episode, we almost see Nick try to hold Charlie's hand, but he doesn't because he's confused and he's not sure how he actually feels. And then we end the episode. So episode 3 is called Kiss, and this is where we're introduced to the main girl. I don't even know what I want to call her. She's constantly going after Nick, and it seems like her only purpose there is to cause some more drama, which is fine, but I wish we had kind of gotten a little more characterization of her later on. We find out that her name is Imogen. I didn't find that out till like episode 7, but what happens is that she is starting to flirt more and more with Nick, and Nick kind of jokingly invites her to his buddy's party, and it just becomes this whole mess of miscommunication and nobody expressing how they actually feel, and it just drove me nuts for the entire episode. Also, Nick decides to go ahead and invite Charlie to the party, which made me squeal like a little child. And this is when we're first introduced to Charlie's dad, who just genuinely seems concerned about everything. We don't learn a lot of his backstory with Charlie, but we can tell tell that when Charlie came out, there must have been some stuff that has gone down. So when he drops Charlie off at the party, he's just constantly telling him, hey, look, I'm here for you. If you ever need anything, I will always be there. I'm only a phone call away, and it's so adorable. So Charlie goes into the party, and there is so much drama that happens in this party. But the first thing that happens that made me laugh so hard is just how hard Nick curves Imogen at the start of the party. It is so sad. She is just trying her best to talk to him, to have an honest conversation. And Nick is like, look, girl, you cool, you're great, but I got this boy that I may be into, so can you just not? I also have to point this out because I made a big emphasis in the notes here. When Charlie and Nick meet at the party, they are so cute. Literally so cute. And this is when we start this whole plot line that's probably the only one that it kind of annoyed me for the remainder of the show. I understand why it's there. It was just really honed in on for the rest of the show, and I feel like we could have done it a little less straight on right away, and that is that Tao is starting to feel very left out when it comes to Charlie. Tao is Charlie's best friend, but as Nick becomes more and more of a prominent member in Charlie's life, he feels like he's losing Charlie, and he's losing that friendship, and he's not going to be able to get it back, and we just continue to see this as the season goes on, that Tao is just more and more upset about this. But another cool thing that we find out at this party is that Tara actually comes out to Nick, which is the first person that she's ever come out to, because Nick's friends are constantly trying to get Tara and Nick back together because they had a kiss when they were 13, and for lack of a better words, Nick's friends are D-bags, and they only care about themselves and only care about making everybody else's lives miserable. And I don't know if we're ever going to get any sort of dramatic backstory from them, but for now, I don't like them, and they're just constantly there to piss me off. But as the party progresses, Charlie goes off on his own because he's not really able to hang out with Nick because of Nick's friends, and he runs into Ben, and Ben is being his normal jerkish self. I get that he's going through some things, and I get that he can't come to his feelings yet, but he doesn't have to take it out on Charlie. But the good thing is that Charlie actually stands up for himself, and it was so amazing and so adorable. And Nick is constantly looking around for Charlie, can't find him, searching high and low all throughout this party, but when he finally does, and I wrote this in all caps again, I'm gonna have to point this out, he grabs that hand. I don't know why there was just these little moments in the show when the romance comes through that I just started to lose it, but this was one of them. So after Nick finds Charlie, they decide to go off on their own, and they go up this house that apparently has 8 floors, which I thought was ridiculous. And they go off into this room alone, and they're talking back and forth about who they might like, about what types of people they might like, and Charlie brings up the fact that he was wondering if Nick might actually like someone who's not a girl. And he says, yeah. Well, would you like someone here who's not a girl? He says, yeah. And he asks, would you want to kiss me? You know, your boy was melted onto the floor when I heard that, because it is, again, so cute. And they actually share a kiss, and it is just so sweet. The little animations that pop off, so incredible. I'm screaming like a schoolgirl. I cannot wait to see what's gonna happen next. And then we hear, of course, Nick's D-bag friends heading up the stairs. And of course, Nick, not secure about his feelings yet, not secure about who he is yet, runs off to go try to see if he can get them away from the room because he doesn't want them to find out about it. Charlie, of course, is hurt. He runs downstairs. He goes to his dad and is just heartbroken because Nick wouldn't stay there. And I understand it. It was a bad situation for both of them. Charlie was feeling hurt because he felt like he was abandoned. Nick didn't know who he was and didn't know if he wanted to come out to his friends yet. So Charlie goes home. Nick is trying to talk to him. Charlie is just holed up in his room, won't talk to anyone, and then here's a knock at the door. He goes downstairs, and then in the rain, we have our homie boy Nick, because they couldn't just destroy my heart anymore. He's standing there in the rain like it's a freaking Notebook, and Charlie says, what are you doing there? End episode. What the were you all doing to my emotions right there? But it's okay because I can move on and talk about episode 4. So for episode 4, we have a title of Secret, and boy, do we got a secret. But Nick is honestly just confused about everything, and he only wanted to make sure that Charlie was okay. He felt very sorry about running away at the party last night. He comes all the way to Charlie's house. It's raining outside, ends up kissing Charlie because Charlie is in his head yet again, and just tells him that he loves to see him and that he wants to see this a little bit further. And it's just so sweet and so incredible. So Nick starts to walk off, and I just thought that was so freaking cute. And there was a line that I have to quote from you all. When I heard it, I was literally dying on the inside.
Did I forget something?
And in my head, I'm saying, yeah, this kiss. And guess what? Charlie gives him that kiss, and it is so sweet and so beautiful. And this is also the episode that I started repeating the same 3 words over and over and over again for the rest of the season. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it for you. We don't ever figure this out completely. Tao and Elle, question mark, question mark, question mark. Are they into each other? Because I sure as heck think they are, and they just keep teasing me for the rest of the season. So as the episode goes on, we start to see Charlie struggle more and more at rugby. He's not able to tackle anybody, and he's starting to get really discouraged because all of the teammates are just becoming more and more D-bags about the whole gay stereotype situation. So Charlie starts to try to train, tries to get better for the team. However, the big climax of this episode is the big rugby game, the game that Charlie has been worried about because the reserve that he was actually holding in for is actually out. So he has to play in this game, and everybody is coming to the game. We've got Tao, we've got Darcy, we've got Elle, we've got Tara, we've got literally everyone coming to watch this game. As they get onto the field, they realize that they're not just playing another school. They're playing a sports school. The other team is dummy thick. Like, these are men. Charlie and Nick and the rest of them, they're kind of boys. These men have the quads the size of my head. So as they're going through the game, Charlie finally tries to stand up and get a tackle, which is what he's been building up to this entire episode. And when he does, he's not able to actually tackle the guy, and he ends up getting hurt. But the sad thing is that Nick doesn't know how he feels yet. He doesn't want to show it to everyone else that he's really favoring Charlie, so he doesn't actually help Charlie on the field when he gets hurt. And so Charlie is just feeling there left alone, and then he wakes up in the infirmary, and then Nick decides to come see him. As they're talking, they're starting to apologize to each other. They don't know how they're feeling about their emotions. Isaac actually walks in on them. I forgot to mention, Isaac is another one of the friends in Charlie's group. It's Tao, Isaac, and Charlie, and Isaac is so sweet and so cute. If you thought this episode couldn't end on a worse note, we have creepy girl Imogen coming for the rescue to ask Nick on a date, and guess what? Nick feels pressured by his friends, and he says yes, and I literally wrote here, no! What the is this video actually gonna be? And the worst part of it all, Charlie's friends, Tao and Elle, hear it, so they know what's about to happen, even though Charlie has no idea. Wow. I'm looking at the time right now. I've been recording for 30 minutes straight of me just talking. So I may actually break this into 2 videos. If I do, there'll be a part 2 coming soon. If you like what you saw here today so far and you want to see more, stick around, hit the subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment so that I can actually bump up in the algorithm a little bit. I love you all so much. Don't forget to check me out on all my social medias down below. And also don't forget to check me out on my Twitch, where I stream every single time a new video goes live at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget to check out my Patreon, because surprise alert, I have all 8 episodes of HeartStopper, the full uncut length reaction over there. So head over to the page, check it out, and subscribe, and I'll do all that fun stuff. But I love you all. You're all the best. And I'll HeartStopper Season 1 Part 1 you all in another one.